When you think about Larry Bird in basketball, you think about a guy who made the most of the talent that he had. Just worked his tail off, fought and scratched, and did whatever he could to make his game better.
Born on December 7, 1956, Larry Joe Bird grew up one of 6 children in a poor working-class family.
Larry's experience growing up poor in French Lick, Indiana, corresponded very closely to the way a lot of black athletes grew up. Larry wanted to get away from what he was, even though he deeply respected his roots and everything. And I think that was a real motivation, this kind of clawing out of this nowhere hole of French Lick, Indiana.
Indiana University coach Bobby Knight offered Bird a scholarship, but Bird was overwhelmed by the size of the university and dropped out in the first month.
When Larry went to Indiana, he had not seen any of the world. He got to Bloomington, Indiana. It might as well have been Tokyo. It was just too much for this small kid from Indiana.
Bird chose to attend and play ball for the smaller Indiana State University. By his senior year, he led his team to the NCAA championships, where he faced off against his future rival, Earvin Magic Johnson.
I actually broadcast one of his games at Indiana State. Red Auerbach, who had drafted him for the Boston Celtics, was sitting next to me, and his mouth just dropped. Everyone knew that Bird could score whenever he wanted. It was his passing. Auerbach just couldn't believe there was such a passer like that. That's what made him so special, his ability to pass, to see the court, the entire court, and hit the open man.
Bird joined the Celtics in 1979, and in his first season, he led the team in scoring, rebounding, and minutes played. Nicknamed the Hick from French Lick, he was voted NBA Rookie of the Year.
Larry Bird was one of those people that turned around a franchise right away. Very few people in the history of sports had had that profound of an effect. With the Celtics, what he was doing was restoring a tradition that had been rich in the 50s and 60s. They had gone downhill. Larry Bird shows up in 1979. It's like they were right back to the dominant Celtics of the 50s and 60s.
In the early 80s, NBA game attendance was in decline, but with Bird leading the Celtics and Magic Johnson heading the Lakers, their on-court rivalry helped to rejuvenate interest in professional basketball.
The rivalry between Magic Johnson and Larry Bird was unparalleled really in sports history because they had played against each other in college in the championship game. Whenever they played, there was an aura of a championship fight, and that made the NBA a real prominent league in the 1980s.
One was on the West Coast, one was on the East Coast. One was black, one was white. One ran the court and smiled, the other played a half-court game and frowned. You had these two complete opposites that year after year competed for the NBA championship. That was as irresistible a two-person storyline that has ever come along in American sports.
Over his 13 seasons in the NBA, Bird, alongside teammates center Robert Parrish and power forward Kevin McHale, would lead the Celtics to the playoffs 12 times, winning the championship 3 times.
I don't think anyone could sense teamwork as well as Larry Bird. He, at all times, while he was playing, knew where all of his teammates were. He knew what the opposition was going to do. I think he saw the game in slow motion.
Bird was voted All-Star 12 times and was named the NBA's most valuable player in 3 consecutive seasons.
I think what made Larry special as a player was that he was perceived as someone who did not have a lot of physical gifts. He couldn't jump, but he got 11 or 12 rebounds a game. He wasn't fast, but he got up and down the court almost as well as anybody. So there was almost a kind of magic to his being able to accomplish what he did.
In 1992, Bird, along with Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan, formed the American men's basketball dream team and took home the gold medal in the Olympic Games in Barcelona.
For Larry Bird, he'd accomplished so much on college level in the NBA. The Dream Team in '92 really was a great final chapter. The fact that they had him on that team made that team a part of history.
Immediately after the Olympics, Bird announced his retirement from the NBA, and the Boston Celtics hung up his jersey, number 33. Bird has remained active in basketball as an executive and head coach. In 1997, he returned to his home state of Indiana and led the Pacers to a franchise best record. He was named NBA Coach of the Year in 1998, and later that year he was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Larry Bird would probably tell you he wasn't the greatest athlete on the basketball court, but he worked so hard.
I think Larry Bird's ultimate legacy would be someone who was able to achieve so much that if you know the game, if you're a competitor, if you work on making yourself better, that you can rise to a level that few people in the game can ever hope to achieve.